Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
I'll note that everybody's here.
Okay, everyone is here. I'd like to welcome Marge Sinzeri. This is her first meeting, finally. Nice to have you with us. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of the City Hall's to regular meeting of January 27th was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on January 15th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Okay, thank you. Our consent agenda includes minutes from our meeting of October 28th and also a special meeting of October 21st. So if nobody needs to, if nobody has any comments, I would appreciate a motion to accept the minutes as they exist from somebody. Okay. Fred moves it. Gordon second. No comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public input? Okay. Ruth?
Hi, Ruth Erickson, Hollister. In case you didn't know, one of your former advisory commissioners passed away, and it'd be a nice thought to adjourn the meeting in his name. Larry McDonald, long time member of Hollister Airmen. He was president and treasurer, secretary over the years. So just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Any other public comment? Okay, we want to move the agenda a little bit, change a little bit. We have some visitors here who are going to give a presentation, and they apparently have to try and catch a plane, so we'll move their presentation up from 8A, which is AIP Runway 1331 Reconstruction Project, Phase 1 and 2. Okay, they can do it now.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Kevin Flynn from Kimley Horn. He's our consultant on the project. Many of you hear me refer to Kevin, and many of you know Kevin. So he was here for a meeting earlier, so he was kind enough to stick around so he can give you guys an update. So, yep, right over there.
First, thank you for having us. As Mike said, I'm Kevin Flynn with Kimley Horn, and we have two other folks from Kimley Horn with us as well. We have Bob Hamilton over here and Pierce Melvin. And this is the primary team who's been working with the city to design and oversee this construction of your projects at the airport for the last few years, including the RSA drainage project, and then last year's phase 1 of the runway reconstruction, and the second phase of the runway reconstruction coming up. In terms of the first phase, that was the one that was predominantly constructed last year. It's, for all intents and purposes, done. We have some challenges with the FAA and some of the, wrapping up some things. And there's one more coat of markings that still needs to be done, but for all intents and purposes, we're in the home stretch on that. We're working with the contractor, we're working with the city to close out all the open financial issues, all the open quality control, quality acceptance issues, and hopefully we're in the home stretch of that. As that winds down, we are also starting to wind up the second phase, which was awarded to Granite Rock Construction, and we had our pre-construction meeting with them today, and we're trying to work through the schedule and the submittals and that kind of stuff, and trying to figure out how to thread the needle between everything from the rainy season to CAL FIRE and their needs, and how long the construction needs to be take place, how long it's going to be shut down, if it's going to be shut down, and things like that. So we had our kickoff with them today, their pre-construction. We will expect a revised schedule back from them based on our discussions today, probably in the next week or two, and then we'll start figuring out how to move forward. It will probably be under construction. It could start anytime from 2 weeks from now, probably not, to probably more in the April timeframe. again, we have to go back, revisit the schedule given what we know about when CAL FIRE needs the runway open, and also trying not to open up all this runway and runway subgrades and stuff like that with a whole bunch of rain coming on too. So we're trying to minimize the impacts and get the construction done correctly. So that's the high view, and we want to open it up to any questions of anything from construction to dates to funding to you name it.
Any commissioners have questions? Gordon?
Phase 1, that's completed now?
That is probably 98 to 99% completed. There were some areas that we need to have just a little more oil put on where we ground down some of the pavement, and then we have the temporary markings down. It still needs one more coat of markings, but beyond that, it's pretty much done.
Was this the construction you had problems with, or we had problems with?
Problems in that not all of the components of the construction met the requirements of the specification, and we're still working through that.
So phase 1 is not complete then?
It is not 100% complete, correct.
Steve, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Others?
No.
Oh. This is your chance. These are the guys.
So, I guess
Go ahead.
So phase 2, we went out to bids,
Mm-hmm.
and Granite Rock received it?
Yes, we went out to bid.
Granite paving, whatever it is.
Granite Rock was the responsive low bidder, and they have been awarded the contract.
Was the bids compatible to your estimate?
Yes.
It's all after the fact. I don't know what I'm asking.
Better to know, better late than never. I
Yeah.
mean, this is your chance to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see you guys up here again in a couple more weeks, or you think, or
I think you'll be tired of seeing us by the time the project's done,
well,
assuming you're not already.
no, I'm not right.
If El Nino ever hits, how's that going to affect you?
You know, it's kind of a catch-22 because to
Yeah.
get the whole work phase done before CAL FIRE needs the runway, we really need to start tomorrow.
Right.
But that ground out there is really a bear once it gets wet, and we hate to dig up runway and start reconstructing runway only to get it a month or two of rain, because really it'll be hard to get it open once it starts raining if we've opened it up. So there's a lot of balancing schedule with weather on that.
Right.
So let me, I think I've asked Mike this before, but I'll ask you here. The whole airport will be closed for part of this process, is that right? I mean, all runways.
Right now, I believe the schedule is for the both runways to be closed for 18 calendar days to reconstruct the intersection.
That would be hopefully then, oh, okay, so that'd be consecutive days, so that'd be almost 3 weeks.
Right.
No, nothing in or out for 3 weeks. Okay, and I guess the rest of the time, 3-1 will be closed.
Yes.
2-4 operational. Okay.
Hey.
That it? Anybody in the audience have any questions? No? This is your chance. Well,
Okay.
I guess that's it. Oh, we got another one?
Granite Rock did the first phase? No, Chapin did.
Chapin Construction did that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming and staying this late for us. But
You know, I just appreciate working here, and thank you for the opportunity. It's been great.
well, doing a good job. Keep it up.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, you and your team.
Safe travels.
Thank you. All right. With that, we'll move on to agenda under reports. 7A is Super Bowl update.
So we now know who's going to be playing, North Carolina and Denver. So it's interesting how this is shaking out, and as we get closer, we'll see how my theories are playing out. So Arizona would have, I think, been a boon of GA traffic because it was so close. So them being out of it, I don't think we need to worry about hordes of GA traffic descending on the airport VFR that no one knew was coming. So in a way, that's good. It seems to me, though, what the FAA said was going to happen is not happening. It looks like reservations are kind of slow coming in, kind of across the board. We all have a couple at this point. Reed Hillview, Moffett, us. Who else responded? That was it. I know Watsonville has a couple,
Monterey.
and Salinas has about 6.
Monterey.
I was looking at the wrong thing when I was talking to you.
Oh,
So everybody has a couple right now. Now, according to the FAA, all the slots were supposed to be gone 3 days ago. So something's a little different, and I don't know if it's the two teams just don't have as big a corporate following as the Patriots do, or some of the more metropolitan teams, or not. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't know. So it'll be interesting how this develops over time. So if you want up to the minute updates, I'd request you send me an email because it'll be over by the time we get together again. So it's no big deal for me to kick an email out to you to let you know where we're at that point in time. But as of right now, we have 2 reservations. One of them, I think, is just a pick up and go. That's the one on Sunday. And then we have one coming in on Saturday. So we'll see how this all shakes out. So we get, Watsonville's averaging about 5 calls a day. I think we're averaging a few more. So the interest is there. People are shopping around, so we'll see what happens.
The 2 you have, are they large jets or what are they?
One of them is a G1, and the other one's just a Hawker 800. So with that said, we cleared the ramp early so we could do some maintenance. The ramp is clear. Fortunately, I haven't really been out there because I was in meetings all day, and I've been sick. So tomorrow I have staff scheduled to come in and weed eat the ramp. And then on Friday I have staff scheduled to come in and sweep the ramp. So the ramp ought to be sparkling by Saturday. So we'll be prepared for whatever goes on. The FBO and I are in daily contact. I won't say constant contact. We're in daily contact. So each of us knows what the other is doing, and we're working together for the common goal to make this happen. So that's where we're at. Well, as of right now, we only have 2 reservations, so I'm not ready to pull that trigger on the chamber yet. I don't want to mobilize a whole bunch of brouhaha for 6 people. So I'm monitoring it, and as soon as I need to pull that button to get that in motion, I will, and we'll do as much as we can. If by, and I'm guessing by Monday, I'll know or whether we're gonna go or no go.
this is with what a fancy do and
Yeah, maybe a little welcome center and stuff like that. I have Mr. Bickle was kind enough to donate the use of the museum for that purpose, so we can put together. We have plans. Steve and I have plans in place to put together a situation if we need to. But right now, I'm not seeing any need to pull that trigger with only 2 planes coming in.
well, I do think you're right. They will increase as we get closer.
Yeah, and when we get there, then we'll
Yeah.
mobilize.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Is there any intercommunications with the airports? Did you
Yes,
indicate that?
we in fact, just this morning when Dean and I were meeting right at lunchtime, I got an email from the other airports saying, hey, let's keep track of what we're doing. So far, participation has been light. We'll see what the morning looks like with that round-robin email to see who else is going to participate. Salinas has indicated that they would. So we'll see what happens.
I was just curious, is there any particular airport that's really the focus?
Well, according to the FAA, your four focus airports are San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and Livermore. Those have been the primary focus airports from the start for this event. Oakland being the one, the primary. They're supposedly sending 400 aircraft there.
Well, they have room for it, I think. They basically have two airfields. So,
A whole lot of swamp.
well, I don't know. I guess they'll shut down what's the North Field or something.
Yeah.
Park the planes there.
But their intention all along has been to put 400 aircraft in Oakland.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, just disappointed.
Hmm? All right, we'll try to move along then. Item 7B, NBAA Schedulers Conference, Tampa, January 19 to 22.
So Dean and I attended the Schedulers Conference last week in order to promote our airport. These are the people that tell the flight, they staff the flight departments in major corporations, and they tell the aircraft where they're going to go and where they're going to land. These are the people we really want to make sure they know we exist so that they send the aircraft to us so we get the business. So learned a lot more. A lot of our competitors are there. Oakland was there, Livermore was there, Napa was there, Sonoma was there, Castle was there. There's a lot of our, it primarily was airports at that event. I think we need to tweak our marketing a little bit for that event because our marketing's right now kind of geared towards developing a business at the airport, building hangars. There's more about travel times, lengths of runway, facilities available. So I think what we need to do is develop a separate targeted marketing for that group, which shouldn't be too hard to tweak what we got to make that happen. And I think we should go back each year. I think that one should be a definite annual event in order to promote what's going on. With that said, I think we also ought to explore the option of participating in AvFuel's section. There, I guess it was 4 major FBO types that were there: Shell, AvFuel, Global Excellence, and Elite.
Phillips, I think, was a big one.
Phillips. Basically, they have aisles with all the different airports that are there, people there, and it'd be a little. We need to look see if it will save us a little bit of money. I think it might. Because we won't have to send our display out and you pay them money and they just make it look like everybody else's. So I'm going to explore that a little bit with the FBO to see if that's a more cost-effective option and see if maybe that might work a little better traffic-wise for us also. Because obviously they're putting up a lot more money and get a lot more primo space. And we learned we need to hand out Band-Aids because of all the high heel shoes. So if you hand out Band-Aids, apparently you have quite the line to come learn about your thing. That's what the guy said, right? So all in all, I think it was successful. The people we spoke to, I think we made an impression on them. And people were pleased to hear about our availability and our assets. So,
Any questions? Nope. No questions? Okay. Moving on to 7C, homeless shelter / Air Park Business Center.
This is kind of old news, but because I got sick, I'm going to formally let you all know that the Board of Supervisors took a formal action to remove the Flynn Road site from consideration. I believe the chairman and Commissioner Machado expressed gratitude to them at a city council meeting a couple weeks ago. Also.
Whatever it was we said.
I'm innocent.
Anyway. Okay. Okay. Next item is 7D, airport improvement matching funds.
I think that was supposed to be the airport improvement / matching funds in the budget. Council approved the CAL FIRE taxiway planning and environmental work for this coming fiscal year's AIP grant cycle. The FAA was only going to give us our entitlement funds, which is $150,000. So we can get that planning and environmental work done for that. So our matching fund obligation will be $15,000 for that $150,000 because it's 10% worst case scenario. Although we were able to, and you're going to find that out a little later, but I'll tell you now. On phase 2 of our runway project, we were able to get the state to contribute 5%. So we are only obligated for 5% of the matching funds for this year's project. We will also be applying for the 5% on next year's project also. So now that the budget situation of the state's improving a little bit, they're getting back into the process of helping with the AIP grants. So that is good news. The state grant that we received for this year amounts to about $350,000, which is nothing to sneeze at.
We got $350 from the state?
Yeah, well, it's a $7 million total project, so it would be $350 from them and $350 from us.
Okay.
I mean, that's not exact.
Yeah, no, but
it's
that's
about
it's
because we
specific.
actually wound up paying 5.5%, and they wind up paying 4.5%, and it's kind of a mess.
Okay, but this is for the specific project.
Yes.
This isn't just their annual.
No. This is matching funds for the runway project.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Next item is 7E, budget. Hopefully we won't have to go through it line by line.
So we were really early because actually the rest of the city just had the meeting today that they're starting to think about the budget. But our analyst Heidi McDonald and I got together several weeks ago, so we were able to present you a budget so that you could actually see it and comment on it before it actually gets adopted. And since we only meet once a month, our budget cycle's so quick, oftentimes you guys got left out. So that's why it's here. I don't know how you want me to go through it. Do you want me to just hit highlights or highlights? Okay, so the first page, you want to look all the way to the right, to the 2016-2017 column, and you'll see we budgeted $150,000 revenue from federal.
Which column? Hold on.
All the way to the right?
Is this worksheet that I got here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is different than what was in my packet. Okay.
Okay. So all the way on the right, you'll see we budgeted $150,000 revenue for the grant, and then our matching fund down there at the bottom is a transfer in, which is $15,000 for a total project, $165,000. The majority of that money is budgeted for professional services because Kimley Horn will be doing the majority of the work. We do budget a little bit of staff time to cover handling the bills and processing things. That basically wraps it up for Fund 212, which is strictly the federal grant account. The next fund that you see there, Fund 228, it's all zeros because we zeroed it out. It doesn't really exist anymore. They should have removed it. which brings us to the airport fund, which is Fund 601. I ran a balance sheet on it this morning with Dean. We currently have about $1 million in the bank in Fund 601. Now that's. I'm sorry.
What page are you on?
I'm not.
Oh.
This is a different report. So currently there's about $1 million in the bank. Now that's our operating thing. So obviously when we pay bills, that goes down, and when rents do, it goes up. So it's about $1 million, and a significant portion of that is reserved for special things. We have about $200,000 reserved for FAA matching funds, so that we can continue to receive grants from the FAA. We have about $200,000 in there to replace capital equipment. We have about $200,000 in there to do capital building, like build hangars and stuff. And we have another $200,000 that's in there to replace vehicles, right?
Good.
Vehicles?
Maintenance.
Or is it major maintenance costs? It's major maintenance costs, you're right. So, anyway,
There.
just to let you know, it's there. So this is our operating budget, and you don't, for whatever reason, the reports are in different places, and that thing's confusing. So the first thing we show are revenues,
Page 4. You're on page 4.
which is page 4, sorry. And you can go through and see all the different revenues, and we're forecasting revenues of $720,000 for next year. That's pretty accurate, although it does not include a later item in the evening, which is a new lease with DK Turbines, and we'll discuss that then. So revenues right now are showing $720,000 for next fiscal year. Excuse me. On page 6, we start the expenses. We do not budget the salaries. It's done down here at City Hall, so that's why you're showing that as blank. I am responsible for budgeting services and supplies and contracts. So pretty much we're keeping it the same as last year on all the different items: fuel, office supplies, chemicals, etc. In fact, it's almost exactly the same all the way through. I did put in $40,000 under improvements to hopefully put a new roof on the dingling. Maybe we can get that thing back running again.
What page are you on and where?
I'm on page 8 in the middle. So the dingling roof is rotten all the way through. In fact, the roofers won't even get up on it. So to fix that, we need to remove the entire roof and replace it. So I put $40,000 in there. We're still trying to decide if we're going to continue to have a flat roof or perhaps put trusses in and shingle it. We'll see. It depends. So anyway, assuming the budget's approved for this, we're going to start there. We'll get the building watertight, because right now it is not. In fact, at a later item, we'll talk about skydiving moving, and that's because they're skydivers, not scuba divers, and the roof leaks that bad.
Okay, so question being, is the roof the major issue with the building? And then somebody moving in would take care of other issues with the building, or how is that?
There are many issues with the building.
Marge, could you turn on your mic when you talk?
Just push the button. It's right there.
On the bottom of the mic.
On the bottom of the mic, right there. This.
So the building has many problems. Its age, number one, it was built to be a jail in 1942. That's the brig for the Navy base. The size of the building is small. You really can't get that many tables in there. we're going to have to put a significant amount of money into that building to turn it back into a restaurant. And to recoup our investment in time, it would need to have a pretty high rent. So right now, I'm looking at stabilizing it before I get into long-term planning about anything down those rides. We removed all the plumbing because it was all cast iron from 1942, rotten stuff. The gas lines have been removed. The electrical in there has to be replaced. We did do the floor before skydiving moved in. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We're looking at, we're planning on, we're making plans along that route, but it's not going to be ready tomorrow. It still will be a couple of years before we can get everything done. The only way, in my mind, the only way that will survive as a restaurant is if there's a larger outdoor seating area that's more pleasant than sitting on the side of the road next to the stop sign. So we're looking at maybe doing something out towards the front, so to get more tables in there to pay for a rent that we can afford to make the building work. So it's a lot of ifs. And the first one starts with fixing the roof, because that's the biggest problem right there. There's also a sewer line issue. The sewer line is under about that much concrete, and it has to be replaced. Right down the side of the building, where you got about that much room to work. So, yeah, it's got issues. It was built to be a jail, not a restaurant. So ultimately, expenses at this point are budgeted at $275,000, but once again, the personnel costs are not in. So that'll get fine-tuned as that goes. So that's the highlights on the budget.
I'm sorry, what?
That's the highlights on the budget.
And you're still looking to add another employee, correct?
We were budgeted this year to add another maintenance individual. Since then, there's been some reorg stuff, and we have not done that yet because I haven't gotten an answer yet whether or not we can still afford it. When I get that answer from down here, then I can go from there. Because I don't want to hire somebody and then 6 months later have to lay them off because we can't afford them anymore.
Okay, any more questions about the budget? Nope. Okay, moving ahead, we have 7F electronic campaign.
So I had hoped to have an update for the electronic campaign, but it's happening tomorrow afternoon. Sorry about that. But as many of you will remember, we made a commitment to go ahead and market the airport through the 1st of July through an electronic marketing program where we control where the marketing goes. Effectively, we draw virtual fences around places, and if somebody uses a mobile device within that fence, the ads that they see on web pages include us. In addition to that, it puts some code in their computer, so if they go to another website that's something similar to what we offer, it brings that ad up, and I think he said it comes back up 3 times because we're not malicious about this, and then it's done. We showed a pretty good click-through rate on the first month. I want to say it went out 100-something thousand times, and we had something like 10,000 clicks. So that's pretty good. And then I have not had an update for 2 months because the individual moved to Colorado, and we got the new guy who's catching up. So I will have an update at the next meeting on how that is going. And one of my intentions is to evaluate the success of that and whether or not we continue it into the next year and budget money to do that.
Okay, any questions on that topic?
So you get hits, but have you got anything other than hits?
Well, that's really hard to know because, you know, is someone calling me about building a hangar out there because of that ad or some other reason? We don't really have a tracking way to know if it goes from there to there. What we are trying to do is put together how many people are going from there to our website. And that's what I'm going to get an update on tomorrow is how much of that has occurred.
And the cost involved with this?
It was $12,000 for 6 months, so about $2,000 a month.
So somewhere, hopefully with the reports that you're seeing now, would show whether it would be cost effective.
Yes, I'm really. Tomorrow's report needs to show that if I'm going to
Right.
continue.
Right, okay.
Okay, if no more questions. 7G will skip because it shows up actually as 8D. So next item will be lawnmower.
So I don't know how many of you remember, but our 7-year-old lawnmower passed away. It threw the piston through the side of the engine block, so it was kind of angry about something. So
this is the like the ride
the
on
little ride
on
mower. So it's been replaced. We now have a new mower out at the airport. So there was a bit of time there where we were quite shaggy, and I apologize for that. But you would not believe how hard it is in the state of California to buy a lawnmower. We went 4 different places, and then we wound up having to pay an extra $1,000 because we were in California for emissions gear on the lawnmower.
Okay. Any questions? Nope.
I don't want to know.
What?
I don't want to know.
Oh. Okay. Item 7I is skydive.
Some of you may have noticed, but skydiving has moved at their choice actually this time, and because they were tired of getting rained on, and they moved down to the old office building for the college down at the other end of the airport. I think they're quite happy down there, and so far so good.
We're getting more money.
And we're getting more money.
All right.
And they're paying it.
Oh, yeah.
What's the intention of the old building?
Well,
That's the
we
big
just
one.
talked about
We just
that.
talked
My first intention is to get a new roof.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. We can't do anything until we get a roof.
Backtracking on that, what would it be the trade-off if you just tore that thing down and started from scratch?
I don't think you
Take it.
can you?
It's all cinder block though. huh?
We can.
Well, are there county restrictions against tearing down
Is there a
the?
mic on?
No,
No?
no.
Is there a mic on?
So we could tear the building down. I looked at prefab restaurant buildings in the past, and I want to say it was about $150,000, wasn't it,
Yeah,
just for the building?
just for the building.
So then there'd be another $100,000 of site work involved. So $250,000 to do it.
Either way, we still need to fix the roof, whether we rent it out as another office complex or a restaurant.
Yeah.
Either way, it needs to be fixed.
Fred's question was, what if we just tore it down and started fresh?
Right.
So,
Too much money.
yeah.
And many times, if you are going to rent it out as a restaurant, people coming in will go ahead and invest an amount of money to go ahead and put it in the condition that they want it in.
That's correct.
So, I mean,
But as long as we can provide a good structure, it would have to be up to the tenant
Right,
to
right.
decide what they want to use it as.
right,
Yeah, so I need to get the roof fixed. I need to get the electrical
The-
fixed.
and
And then we
plumbing.
need to replace some of the plumbing so that it's serviceable,
Yeah,
because right now it is not.
you gotta go.
All right. I'd like to make a general comment to all the commissioners. Would you please make sure your microphone is on, and would you get your mouth up closer to it? because we do the minutes from the recording. And if we can't hear the voices, the minutes leave things out.
You're being recorded.
So, thank you. That wasn't just at you, Marge.
Anyway, I didn't mean to go backtrack on it. I
All
was
right.
just thinking about it.
Okay, moving on. 7J is remote control aircraft agenda. 2116.
So a whole bunch of new rules went into effect for remote control aircraft as of December 1st. Without a lot of guidance, or not December 1st, January 1st, without a lot of guidance from the FAA. The rule now is if you fly a remote control aircraft within 5 miles of an airport, you need to notify the airport. That's what the FAA has said. The FAA has not bothered to tell the airport what we're supposed to do with that information. Are we supposed to be issuing a NOTAM? Should we have a web page somewhere that you guys can go to that says over here they're flying aircraft? You know, they left all that out. I searched high and low, couldn't find anything. So out of desperation, I called Oakland Tower and talked to them. So according to them, the only thing we can regulate is whether or not it's going to be safe. So someone calling and saying that they're going to fly a remote control aircraft at 400 feet at the dog park would be unsafe because of 3.1. Its primary approach is 3.1. So to them, we can tell them no. But somebody flying a remote control aircraft in their backyard in town, not going to bother us with the rules that are adopted. And so thank you for the information. There's nothing to do. So with that said, there is a remote control airfield to the north of us several miles, and it's run by an organization called San Jose Wave Masters RC Club. One of the steps the FAA says that if you are a remote control club and you have an airfield, they want you to go ahead and formalize an agreement with the airport just so you guys know you exist and everything else. So Dean and I actually met with the folks from the club. Very reasonable bunch of guys. They've added additional safety regulations on top of the mandatory safety regulations that the FAA put in place. They also agree to abide by the safety regulations the FAA put in place. There's no way any of their operations are going to interfere with our operations because no one should be below 400 feet way out there over their property. Plus, they've added a rule where they have to have a safety observer anytime somebody's flying to look for planes and to notify the pilot that there's a plane in the area. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and request the City Council's permission for the city manager to sign the document that makes their insurance and the FAA happy to do that. So that's what this action is.
Is this all because of the drones, basically?
Basically.
Yeah, these RC people have been there for decades, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Many moons.
yeah, a long time. Not a problem. Any other questions, comments? Okay, item 7K, DK turbine lease.
Excuse me a minute, did you need a motion?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh,
I'm sick.
oh, okay. I thought you was going to do it, but, all right. I'll entertain a motion to approve Mike presenting this agreement to the city council for their
So moved.
approval. Okay, Gordon moved. Anybody second it?
I second.
Okay, Fred. Fred seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, back to DK Turbine.
So, DK Turbines has been a tenant with us for 20 years at this point, and their lease expires at the first of the year. So we've been negotiating for several months now to come up with a new lease, and we've reached agreement. So on the 1st of February, I'm going to propose to the City Council to give the City Manager permission to go ahead and execute a new lease with them. This lease is 10 years with 2 additional 5-year options at the rate of $6,000 a month for the first 10 years. Then the next 5 years would go up to $8,400 a month, and the 5 years after that, $10,000 a month. At the start, this lease would equal a $40,000 a year increase in rent on what we're getting now. So this is, in my view, a win-win for everybody, and we get to keep a great company, and we get to a little more revenue, and it's all good.
That's a good thing.
What are they paying now?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Oh.
I think it's about
It's going to
$2,800 a
six-
month.
it's going to-
$2,400 or $2,800 a month. I
That's
think.
going to 6,000 a month?
Yes, it would go to 6,000. Which is,
Money in the bank.
it's an adjustment to go up to market rate.
Okay.
Is
They're
there
okay
any
with
other
this?
highlights?
Those are the highlights.
And DK is okay with the lease?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Any other questions?
And it also includes CPI. Sorry, I forgot about that.
You don't need a motion from us?
That'd be great if I could get one.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend that Mike go ahead and recommend this to the city council.
I'll second.
Wait, who moved it?
I'll move.
Okay, Gordon moved it and
I'll
Steve
second.
seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay,
Old business.
that takes care of reports. We'll now go to old business. We already took care of 8A. So 8B is NBAA 2015.
So NBA 2015 was the conference we went to in Las Vegas. I don't think I was able to give you folks a formal report on that.
We read about it.
You read about it. Many people there. It was a good conference. Once again, we're learning our location wasn't the best. And once again, our competitors, they're not really competitors because of where they're at, but our equivalent airports are there. Scottsdale, Arizona participates in it every year. And we were right across the aisle from Scottsdale in Tampa, so we were able to talk with them about what they do. And they taught us some things to do to get a little more traffic also. So it is my recommendation that we attempt to attend the next one and see how it goes. This is what our marketing is targeted for. These are the CEOs and executives and the 1% that own these jets. These are the people that are going to come in and build hangars and move their business to town. So this is what we need to continue to do. Next year, I will once again try to get assistance from Leonardo and Lindsay and those parties that also will benefit from this. This year was a little abbreviated and some stuff was going on. So hopefully next year we can get a little more participation. With that said, the FBO, the Leonardos, did participate. They paid for their own way there, and they worked very hard, and they were great, and we really appreciate their help because they did a fantastic job there with us. They worked shifts just like the rest of us.
Okay, any questions, discussion? Okay. Item 8C, air show.
So, update on the air show. We have the dates. The FAA has approved the military participation. We have submitted it to the Pentagon for their approval. We haven't got any approval back from them yet. It's a little early still. Maybe by the end of next month we should see that. And then we can finally go contact different units for participation. We have hired 3 acts And we've hired 3 acts. We're considering hiring a 4th act. I have an additional 2 or 3 acts that are going to participate, that are participating pro bono, including, I promised a MiG-17 this year, and possibly an aerobatic jet act this year. Not the Blue Angels, but just a single aerobatic jet. Let's not get too excited.
I was just wondering the size of the box for a jet.
We have the appropriate box. It'll be all vertical work because we don't have a whole lot of room horizontally, but we do have a couple hundred feet horizontally, and we can go as high vertically as we want. So as long as it remains linear and vertical, we're good. We did receive notice that the expansion of the jail is going to encroach into the airshow airspace in the future. They're expecting to break ground next year, so that will limit the size of our box, and it may make it so we don't have a jet box after that. I'll have to explore fudging around with that once I know what the layout of the jail is going to be. We'll go from there. What else about the air show? So we're continuing to prepare and get things ready. I'm hoping we have a runway for the air show after today's meeting, because of our rainy season here and everything else that's going on.
Do we have the dates for their show?
We do. They're the 17th, 18th, and 19th, I believe. They should be updated on the website already. I guess that's about it right now on the air show.
What's the dates?
17th, 18th, and 19th. That includes the Friday practice day.
It's Father's Day weekend. Yeah.
Oh, 17th is Friday.
Yes, Ruth. Depends. Don't whisper it to me. I'll say.
What's this? We have some.
I'll croak it out.
Ruth wants to say something.
My voice is going here.
Okay.
I just wanted to check whether the encroachment of the jail is going to affect COG. Should COG be involved?
No, it does not involve our normal operations. Our boxes actually go all the way out. The safety zones for the air show go all the way out to Flynn Road. For us to do the air show, those people that own those properties outside the airport need to agree to abandon those properties during the air show, including the farm to the north, and they've been wonderful neighbors, and they have each year. So it is what it is. So it will affect the size of the boxes, because I am really conservative when I draw my boxes. Other air shows aren't all that conservative, and they put crazy 90-degree angles in there, and they expect the pilots to fly them. To me, safety is the most important thing. So if the box needs to be smaller and I can't have something, that's the way it is.
Can you go further north with the box?
We could, but the problem is our viewing area is in the southern end of the box. Our ramp is not in the middle of the facility because of our cross runway. So I could have them do a lot of stuff. I could have the Blue Angels to the north, but no one sitting on our ramp is going to see it. So that's our challenge. Our show center is about 300 feet into a 7,000-foot long box. That's a challenge when you start moving fast. The biplanes, the extras, and all that, it's plenty of room for them to play. In fact, one of the people we hired is flying a Cub, right? I think that's a Cub. So it's plenty of room for a Cub. It's when you start talking about a MiG-17, you run out of room quick. Really quick.
Okay. Any more questions? Next item is old business is CAL FIRE base project.
So I actually got a little bad news today from them. When they left, they told us that they were going to stand back up on May 15th. Now apparently it's May 1st. So that's putting a huge solid wall at the back end of our construction period. So I don't know how this is going to work because we need a solid 3 months to build what we need to build. And like Kevin said, ideally we're starting tomorrow. This year, after 8 years of drought, it's raining. So we can't open up the runway when it's raining. We did that last year. We opened up the runway looking at good weather and drought, and as soon as we opened up the runway, it rained for 7 days constantly, and we had 4 foot of water sitting out there, and a month went by before we could go back out on the site. We can't.
You mean dig up the runway, not open?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
remove the asphalt.
Right.
And make a mud pit. Because we cannot, this is a very tricky construction because we are opening up the middle of the intersection and we got to get that closed back up before we open. Unfortunately, there's not enough room to the north to build a temporary runway and still be able to work in the south because you have to have a 1,500-foot safety zone at the end of the runway, and there's just not that much room. So no matter what, we got to do this. So they're working on that, and hopefully by next week we'll know a lot more about what's going to happen there. As far as specific to the CAL FIRE project, we did, Dina and I did meet with a representative from NBAA when we were at the conference, and I spoke to her about an idea I had. We have spoken to our local state representative and senator about the CAL FIRE project. They're aware of it and they support it. The problem is that's 2 people out of many in Sacramento. Well, I got to thinking a little while ago, our base covers 9 counties in California. That's a whole lot more than 2 when you start looking at the different representatives whose territory are being covered by that base. It actually totals about 64. So I spoke with the NBA representative for California, a lobbyist, about how to lobby. So she gave me some information. I'll be looking to start that soon, and we're going to see if we can pull together a meeting of the California Aviation Caucus and do a presentation on how important the CAL FIRE-based project is, and maybe see if we can get it off of first base through that process. So that's the next plan. We'll see what happens. Until then, I'm sticking with the plan of raising the rent every time their lease expires.
Well, the CAL FIRE should be approached by, if they want a runway, let us build one. They'll just have to fly out of someplace else for a while.
Yeah, we will. That conversation will be had if and when we need to have it. Until I have a schedule, we told the contractor today that because of the CAL FIRE issue, and because of the business issue, and because of the shutting down the airport issue, they need to pick those 18 days, and they're locked in stone. Period. No matter what. Because we cannot be moving that every 5 minutes and I need to get that information out to those businesses ASAP so that they can plan months in advance around getting customers into them that they can work on and get them out at the right time. Otherwise, we're going to cripple those guys, and that's not fair.
Does CAL FIRE have any alternates? In the sense that they
Well,
can go somewhere.
They have
temporary?
Pasarovos and those.
Is that the fly fire farther?
Correct.
Well, they have that crow's nest over there, but that's closed.
Crow's
Yeah,
Landing.
that's
Closed landing,
it's
yeah.
out of commission.
Yeah, that runway's awful.
So we will talk with them about how that goes, but I need to know what I need to tell them. So next week I'll have that information and that conversation will happen.
Well, Paso Robles has a fire base there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, big one.
It's
I
an
think
elec-
Paso Robles is their alternate for this one.
it's an election year too, so it may be advantageous.
Yeah, I'm hoping that will finally work. Because 60 is a lot more than 2.
Okay.
Any more questions? Comments? Okay. That takes care of that. New business, we deleted CAL FIRE from there. We just talked about it. Since there's no other new business, items for next agenda. Anybody have any?
Whatever happened to 4th of July? Fireworks.
I'll put that down.
The what?
I'll put that down since it's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Fireworks. Okay. Anything?
Super Bowl,
Okay, yeah.
budget, the electronic campaign,
Yep.
AIP, air show.
You want to report back on the turbines? Just to tell us if the
Sure.
city council was happy? AIP, air show. What did you say? Turbines? What?
You said turbines. I said yes.
Oh, okay. All right. CAL FIRE base project?
If I got something to report, I'll put that on.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? All right, next meeting date is, well, February 24th, I guess, is our next meeting.
March 3rd, 23rd.
Well, that's just the meeting afterwards, I guess.
Meeting after that.
To give you 2 months ahead to look. Okay, I would at this point entertain a motion for adjournment in the memory of Larry McDonald.
So moved.
Gordon moves. Is there a second? Who was that? This side? Robbie? Okay. Robbie seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That was way
Well,
back.
not too bad. What?
That
Oh,
goes way
get
back.
the hammer. Where's the hammer? There we go.
Don't get carried away now. Don't get carried away.
Well,
Larry McDonald, that's a long time ago, man.
It's been a while since
Long time ago, Larry.